Welcome to the Poetry Box Live. My name is Shawn Aveningo Sanders, and I'm thrilled that you could join us for a little poetry today. For those of you who may be tuning into our show for the first time, my husband Robert and I run an independent press here in Portland, Oregon, known as the Poetry Box. And over the past 10 years, we've been lucky enough to work with over 160 wonderful poets from all over the United States. Part of our commitment to our poet authors is to help them reach a larger audience through our Zoom shows. And today we're very excited to host 4 talented poets. We have Marjorie Moorhead is joining us from New Hampshire. Rebecca Lynn Bluemel will be reading to us from here in Portland, Oregon. Sandra Rendig is joining us from Northern California, and Cathy Cain is also joining us from here in Oregon. Let's get started with our first featured poet. Marjorie Moorhead is the author of Into the Thrum, which addresses how we might, through close attention to nature, place, and people, navigate our world in a healing and harmonious way. Marjorie's previous publications include What I Ask and Every Small Breeze, and her chapbooks In My Locket, Survival, Trees, Tides, Song, and Survival Part 2, Trees, Birds, Ocean, Bees. Her poems have appeared in Amethyst Review, Tiny Seed, Bloodroot, Sheila-Na-Gig, Porterhouse Review, The Poeming Pigeon, Verse Virtual, What Rough Beast, A River Sings, The Poet's Touchstone, and others, as well as 16 anthologies, including The Wonder of Small Things, edited by James Cruz. Marjorie's work has garnered nomination for the Pushcart Prize and Best of the Net. She lives with her family and writes from the Connecticut River Valley at the New Hampshire-Vermont border, where she belongs to a local poetry group known as Fourth Friday Poets. It's my pleasure to welcome Marjorie Moorhead.
Thank you, Shawn. Thank you for this opportunity to share the poetry and for the beautiful book that you guys made for me. I'm just going to dive in so I can get them all read. And congratulations to my co-readers too. This is a lovely occasion for me. Okay, Inspiration is the first poem in the book, and it's dedicated to my Fourth Friday poets. When I dread thinking thoughts of my own, I go to somebody else's poem and wander through the wonderings there and see if a message, feeling, image hits home. How amazing to be able to go to the page and explore how somebody else engaged with our world that day, or maybe with their past, telling what impressed enough to last. It could be pain, which can really stick. It may be what was funny or amusing. It could be battles won or struggles they're losing. If captured on the page in language, taking unexpected turns or tone, resonating strongly, phrases or descriptions, or even a question, how lovely that it keeps me company. And reading it leaves me so much less alone. And Early April Wind. It's fine that the wind is blowing so hard, blowing old leaves off the flower beds, blowing in little brown tornado twirls, swirling and stirring new green life into the pot. We've had our winter stew, roots of oranges and browns, blonde potato, pale onion. This wind ushers in a next crop, curled and crinkly spinach, chard, kale, ferns furrowed like fiddleheads, oozing the green of spring. And my title poem, Into the Thrum. Finally, the forsythia is at full throttle froth, yellow petals spangling in large group celebration. Nearby, magnolia too has decided to pop. It's time to show up, and each tree is a handful of confetti in the air. The crocuses have teased forth daffodils to join them, and tulip greens are hinting at days of color to come, when they'll bloom in pinks and purples and bring the hyacinths along to dance in parade. Why not? The sun is strong, and after burning through morning fog is out for serious business all afternoon. Sunsets will be highlighted in cloud forms, docking like ships in the waning light, making them blush and glow, putting on quite a show, yet prelude for the exhibition of moon and stars. Birds know. The geese have come back squawking, joining cardinals, robins, and crows. With each venture out, I've captured spring-tilled soil in my soles. If he were a poet. She whistles to birds is what my husband would write if he were a poet composing poetry about his wife. She sings to the radio loudly, snaps her fingers with the beat. She's a bit of a clutterer, although also very neat, sort of a conundrum, truth be told. We make all kinds of adjustments, staying together as we grow old. Always she is walking, or writing, trying to figure out the world. This is called Motion Change. Two rabbits are riding the moon, a full white balloon floating above transition season. Some days a snow cover, some days brown mud, bare branches, some days gusty breezes, some days warmth from a toasting sun. Planets and stars appear clear and low in night sky. We walk tenderly forth, putting faith in good fortune. Green lights ribbon evening's curtain in far northern regions. I reach out, grope for a four-leaf clover, risking hope of new direction. Work, world, love. Let's strive for regeneration. It's something of a memory poem from childhood, a lovely one. Nurtured. It was a twiggy world with pine needle carpet, puff mushrooms that spewed their spores when we squoze, pine cone petals, sticky layers, flocks abundant until deer ate the flowery tops away. Always a stream nearby, so the music of trickling water sang to us of spring and rain and adventure. Atmosphere. Tadpoles fat dollops in the pond, their tails like apostrophes, frogs and crows, dragonflies and moths, ferns and ferns and ferns, from fiddleheads to feather fans of green. So many greens, clover, grass, pine bough, lichen, and moss. Magical, like the Emerald City of Oz. A place unto its own, its riches, the colors, smells, textures, sounds, tastes that filled us up with each breath and gaze. This is what it sounds like. Yesterday, the lilacs staked their claim, stood in their truth, full realization, a glory of color and scent that announced celebration. As I walked, lilacs ruled. One could not look away. Yes, there will be other blossoms on display, other colors, shapes, attraction by which we will be lured. But this was Lilac's day, not to be ignored. Standing in their truth, lilacs fully blossomed, strongly scented, proud and pretty, petals petite and frilly, hanging like bunches of ripe purple grapes on a vine. Luscious, generous, calling for attention. The green leaves heart-shaped, how perfect. A message in italics. We love you. we're here for you. Enjoy us in our finest moments. A perfume of seduction wafting on the winds. Come hither, stand closer, breathe me in. The lilacs standing in their truth, dressed in frilly purple suits, exuding paisley energy and scent, are like young Prince in his power, high-heeled, tight-pantsed, guitar and mic, sending the message of emotion. When doves cry. We were riveted back then. The lilacs have a purple message too, and are embodying it fully in this fleeting mid-May moment. This is what it sounds like when doves cry. I don't know if we have any Prince fans, but let's see. This is called What If We Make It Real? Hello, little sun. The message and poem come across my screen in an email. JC often shares words and thoughts I can feel. Like sitting down with a cup of hot tea, they seep in, sipped, absorbed gradually. Warmth calmly radiates out, pulling all parts of me together, connected at heart. Thank you for the glow, friend, for inspiration to write what I know. What is more important, more human than sharing in this way? What if we all felt empowered, motivated, invited, given permission to explore our lives with each other? Not airbrushed photos, but honest thoughts, hopes, fears, delight. Would we then still be endlessly at war? Why, why must we need reminders to see one another as human, as sharing a planet together, as not different in our fundamental needs and hopes? What will you share with me? I am sharing this with you. Next, I have one called Links Us. I didn't know so many others had written my thoughts. Now I've joined them. An affinity for chickadees and the joy in their swoop. The knowledge of doorways to joy that come in the shape of feather, leaf, cloud, links us. I embrace joyriders as we embrace the small wonders blossoming in view in every day from each sunrise to sunset anew. Living and dying every moment, we share a world, a living and dying with each heartbeat, each eye blink, each inhale and exhale, facing night sky or spring mud, in rainstorm or heat wave, wearing clamshell or thumbnail, veins thrum to a beat, as ocean waves pulse to a tide. Hyphae hold hands underground, hearts can soar or dive. Having a couple more, I think. Let's see. I give my grief. I give my grief freely to the wind. Wind created walking through air, gifting the grief to my wake. I let it trail behind like a long flowing veil. I give my grief to the ink of this pen, letting it stain black the white of a page, with each stroke of each letter, of each word, formed to tell a story. Describing glory or a sorrow, if need be, I will write and write, spilling words as they come, into the hours, into tomorrow. This is called Daisy. Oh, Daisy, simple Daisy, I can rest in your lovely little face. Not garish, not saturated in lush color, not tall or big or flouncy, nothing fancy, just Daisy. White petals surrounding a center, no strong odor reaching up to lure me. You are what you are, and let the world be what it is. I see you at sidewalk's edge, usually in a small cluster, just enough, no jiggling for attention, just standing there with your others in simple surroundings, being gentle. Some of us don't have the need to call attention. Some of us have our own quiet beauty, shared tenderly. Isn't that so, Daisy? Thank you. How am I doing for time? Is that it? One more? Okay. I'll read Each Flower and Its Bee. Aren't we all under each layer of this and that, searching for authentic voice? The undictated one, the one generating organically from truth, our truth, unique to us, born of our particular circumstances, our road, our path, our steps, our stumbles, recoveries, discoveries, creations, destructions, where and how we blend with the natural world, see the stars, hear the birds, smell the earth, value each step as a resting ground, love each flower and its bee, a sweet treasure that feeds us. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Marjorie. That was lovely. And this entire collection is such a soothing balm for these really chaotic times we seem to be going through right now. And I really, really love the poem about the lilacs. I love those heart-shaped leaves, whispering, I love you. We're here for you. Enjoy us. I mean, I just adore that. And of course, the reference to Prince is great too, because I'm a big fan. But thanks so much for sharing your beautiful poems with us today. It was a real treat.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
Next up, we have Rebecca Lynn Bluemel, author of More Water Than Tears, which explores what it means to relearn and redefine yourself as your world is falling apart, encouraging a gentleness in which to heal and grow. Rebecca is a Gateless certified facilitator, group leader, and writing coach. She lives in Portland, Oregon with her two adorable gingers, leads a current series of generative writing workshops online, and owns and operates her own pet sitting business, Home Sweet Home Pet Care. Her books, Excoriation and her chapbook, Womanhood and Other Scars, were previously published by the Poetry Box. Her poetry has appeared in the Poeming Pigeon, Feminine Collective, Cirque, Tiny Seed, and many others. It's my pleasure to welcome Rebecca Lynn Bluemel.
Thank you, Shawn. Thank you, Robert. It is always an honor to be here reading and to be published. And this gorgeous book that you helped me create is wonderful. I wanted to say Happy Mother's Day. I know can be a complex day with mourning and with joy. And for everyone out there, I send love to all. To begin, I'm going to start a newer poem that is not in the book, and it is about my two children that made me a mother. This is titled My Floaties, like the floaties. My youngest chooses to go by Rain now, their given middle name. Rain as in weather, as in wet, as in the force of a storm they've had since birth. I have described them as a hurricane many times. My oldest goes by his given first name, George, as in earth worker, as in farmer, as in the patient nature of growth, calm and peaceful to see, and the struggle that is underneath. I've described him many times as my contemplator. With them, they do not know how much I have grown or how far I've traveled through my greatest worries for them to see there was nothing to fear. With them, I've learned that being alone gives me time to heal, to bloom. That darkness is necessary for rest, and silence can come before the storm, though better relished in afterward. It is so fitting that together they are my nourishment, my buoyancy, my vitality. And one more newer one that my mom said she loved. This is called I See the Snakeskin of Childhood Sloughing Off, and the rainbow sheen of adolescence beaming through. I trail them, irritating to all, and attempt to stitch a piece or two back on. Their new skin is stunning too, so I'm torn. Being a child means a sense of freedom, unconcerned, unaware of the glass enclosure. This is all hindsight, of course, coiled and discarded. Their minds are an infestation of mice and they hunger. Once I worried to the doctor about my toddler's shyness. She asked how they react given a wide open space without restraint. I answered, they run, wild and crazed. Nothing to worry then, she said. I worried to a teacher about lack of control. She advised for them to lead. Nothing to worry then, she said. They used to dance naked in the yard. I would dance too, clothed and collecting their shed skin, pictures of all that freedom. In the book, if you have the book, it's page 14. And I adore that I'm reading with a fellow New Hampshireite. I was born and raised there and moved here in 2014. So, and Marjorie read one that touched upon the subject of war, and this is one of mine. It's titled Another Side of Mercy. At first, I had only read of war in textbooks. I learned what the teachers made us memorize. They taught us we were the good guys. I learned death and war was okay if we were the good guys. I knew what TV showed me, what my parents allowed me to see. I had felt safe from war. I remained on another side of mercy. My grandparents knew the scars of war. My dad felt the graze of war against his neck, a hot razor sharp enough for a close shave. My brother knows war. It's in his leg. It took an eardrum. War knows him intimately. The blade was dull and corroded. I've seen him struggle to keep his war inside. I know of my own internal war. I know of the endless war of this country. I have been on the outskirts of war. I feel its presence. I have seen the blood, the bruises. I have inhaled the tear gas, the smoke of a meth lab on fire. War's price tag comes off so clean. A war is on my hips, my hands. I wear it all over. It is sliced into my DNA strands. My children have its ears, its eyes. With them, they gaze at the sky threatening to fall. I will not teach them, it won't. The next one is, I lead a mythology salon, writing salon on Tuesdays, and this next one is from the Egyptian mythology that we were doing. The title is Fishwife, and it's on page 37. It is from the goddess Hatmahit, and it has to do with Osiris and the myth of why a lot of Egyptians didn't or don't currently eat the fish in the river because it had eaten some of the pieces of Osiris that were tossed in. So this is titled Fishwife. Some turn their nose up at the bottom feeders, lobster, tilapia, shrimp. Thriving in darkness, they eat what sinks lowest, the dead, our garbage. Summer trips to the New England coast, my brother and I would size up the lobsters in the large lit tank for the biggest. We believed we could choose one to be our dinner. Boiled red-orange, posed on a green leaf with tail tucked, each piece to be bathed in warm, liquid butter. I learned when the tail is twisted and cracked off to look for small red clusters, eggs. Dad would mourn the death of the pregnant mother and her unborn. Though thankful for that delicacy, I was all greed and glutton not to waste a drop of salty water caught in the claws. I dozed on the dark ride home, my father vigilant at the wheel with his precious cargo, all of us silent, bellies full, under a sky of silver fish and the goddess moon following us, as if envious that we were permitted to feed on boundless riches under the sea. Such inappropriate creatures. The next one I'll read, just to give a little power to all of us here. It's on page 22, Ode to Maeve, the Celtic queen, powerful warrior, lover to many. For this moment, I can believe I am your descendant. Bloodline watered down by mortals, so the rage has all but faded. Though the hunger remains and the love has grown, my kindred queen, you might question how there could be so much yearning without anger, without the power to do something about it. Some nights you rise like that in me, like the siren song we share, like trouble. I dream of a war I lead into battle, waves of warriors at my back, shadowing my own madness unbolted. When I wake with a gasp to regain control, I am alone and lonely in the darkness. I shush and rock the siren song in me back to sleep until the unimaginable morning where too often I have forgotten my power, the army I've led, the death that followed me. Though mornings like this, when I am your descendant, I carry a rock that is each of my days and climb your grave mound to remind myself of our power. This next one I'll read is on page 27 and 28. It's titled Stem From. It's not like I forget the paper I write on comes from trees, or the wood of my furniture, or the doors that keep me feeling safe. I know that the ghosts of forest reside in every room here. I live in an apartment building named the Oak Tree, and I've joked how it must have been cut down to put it up. An elderly neighbor told me there was once a massive oak that had fallen a decade ago. When describing the tree to me, her eyes become wide and her thin, crooked arms reach up as high as they would go, holding her wooden cane off the ground. I wondered if it too was remembering the enormity from which it must have come. Perhaps that's the pull to write on paper, the ghosts calling out to be music again, to be beauty, to be breathable. And this is one directly regarding the divorce. It is titled Flash Flood on page 30. Had I paid better attention to the monotony I taught myself to fall in love with, I thought it meant the good life. Even when rivers began to rise, it all happened so slow. I didn't notice until I couldn't breathe and I had to fight against the torrent. As the river narrowed, I bounced against each bank, acceptance and sacrifice. I held on to one or the other with waterlogged fingers. fascinating how skin adapted to wrinkle in water for a better grip. Yet in that state, it's so fragile, so easy to tear apart. Though calluses take too much repetition to matter in a flash flood. In movies, the hero gets washed up onto shore unconscious, then sputters back to life. At times, I've caught myself wishing for death, for something more like real life in the movies. Heroes never look pathetic enough so close to death. Had I paid better attention to things the river buried, things lost in its silt and sediment that crept in as slow as the river rose, the things that looked so easy to save until I needed them and they were unsalvageable. And I'm sure we all have had, or most of us have had, some kind of bully, school age bully that, or hopefully not these days, but school age bully that we can recall. This is about mine. And the title is Do We Remember on page 34. This is in conversation with myself. Do we remember? Escape from the mirror. Keep your eyes low. Keep walking. Memorize the way, each stone, each pothole, each turn to apex to cut the time it takes. If she walks faster and catches up, hold on with both hands to the plastic cup that frames the little sprout you grew for Mother's Day. You and I both know how this turns out. This little one is watching, learning. If you leave the green tendril sideways in her bed of rich soil on an old silver street, she will grow until her roots are exposed or until she is crushed under tires or foot. Pick up her tiny body in your palm. Hold her as if you believe she will still bloom. Push the soil back inside the crinkled cup. This container will suffice for now. Keep your eyes low. Avoid any mirror. If you squeeze your eyes tight enough, you have exactly 2 seconds between the swells to seek a new vessel, a new place to be held. Reuse the soil, even though the new gray pebbles will remind you. They will continue to haunt you. Remember to tell her she is beautiful. Add more water than tears. The soil is still good to grow in. And actually, I'm going to read one more new one. This is titled A Photograph of One Tree Growing Out of the Center of Another. The title is obvious of how I came to this poem. A photograph of one tree growing out of the center of another. It looks painful. I stare and wince. It looks feminine. That is to say, it looks like a birth. Though this event is even a slower one, no matter how torn and bloody it looks in the moment, I am unsure if either tree is in pain. How many times in a life does this happen, where you happen to grow out of something you once were? A moment where you cleave through one life to become separated. This is not to say the thing being hatched from is bad, and I'm not saying the hatched is better. How many times does water split after leaving a cloud, a mountaintop, only to search for itself again once it reaches the ocean? I was once a part of my mother at a time when she was a part of hers too. Yet there is a time in each child's life where they fight to be seen as individual. I continue to stare at the photograph of one tree growing out of the center of another, and I realize I'm wrestling with whether it is more painful or more beautiful at the dissection, and I have failed to see that they both remain alive. So this one is on page 47. It's titled Feels Like Freedom. And this is in my book, More Water Than Tears, published by the Poetry Box. Look at this. Isn't this gorgeous? This cover that Robert and Shawn did. Oh, I just love it. Oh. So it feels like freedom. The ergonomics of horses have never made sense to me. Massive beasts on such skinny pillars. How could they carry anything, let alone stay standing? To watch them run, though, not even I remember to question them. When you're a creature who recalls divinity, you rely on that memory to hold you up. You need only the wind you command to whip around your mass and through your mane. The kind of day need not make sense nor matter, knowing the night will end. When the dawning sky and an open plain speaks to you from the ancient divine, you smell spring in the dead of winter, in the snow crushed underfoot, in the earth radiating up the slight and momentary thaw. When you glance back and see from where you've come, something rears up within your wilds and tells you, run. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Rebecca. You know, one thing I can always count on when reading one of your books is that it will be vulnerable and it'll be real. I love the way you put us in the narrator's shoes. You make us feel everything that she is going through, and then we also get to feel triumphant when she overcomes life difficulties. So thank you so much for sharing your vulnerable and empowering poems with us today. It was a real treat, as always. Love you.
Thank you, Shawn. Love you.
Our next featured poet is Sandra Rendig, the author of Heart and Bones, which is her first published book. Sandra was born and grew up in the 1950s in the small town of Sonora, California, a rural land of hills, trees, and creeks. The natural world remains a strong influence in her writing. Her parents, children of Italian immigrants, have significantly influenced her writing. Many of her poems honor their self-reliance and strong work ethic. She often writes about the beauty and emotional impact of the changing seasons. Now that she is 78 years old, several of the poems reflect the passing of her own seasons. Please welcome Sandra Rendig.
Thank you, Shawn. So happy to be here. Thank you all. And for those people that came to witness a little bit of reading today, I thank you so much for being here. And let me just show a little bit of what a beautiful cover that Shawn created for me. So I'm so proud to have my first published book of poetry. What a treat. After 30 years of teaching, really, that was a busy career, which I loved. But really, I longed to slow down and get to know myself in a quieter, self-reflective way. And writing poetry gave me an opportunity to explore the relationships that were and are most meaningful to me. Relationships to myself, to nature, to my family and friends. So I just want to say that the completion of this book has been just a milestone in my life. Some of the things within this book are just some of the most meaningful times. They're a witnessing to things I've gone through. It's a way for me to say, I was here, I did these things, this is me. And of course, some of them are just, a glance of nowness, but others are an expression, deep emotional expression of love or of longing or of regret or just feeling sometimes very much that I'm struggling with something. So this is my way of claiming that I was here, and these are my expressions of me. So thank you. So let me begin. Well, I'll begin where it all began, with a mother. Mother, she chops wood beside the small shed, a tall walnut tree watching over her small bent body, white hair sprouting from a blue knit cap on her head. She grasps the hatchet by the smooth handle. She delivers the blow with one swift stroke, slicing the wood with a satisfying crack. Bending, she deftly picks up the fresh slices of golden kindling, cradles them carefully in her thin arms, step by step, carrying them to the small wood stove, dutifully feeding pieces one by one into the hungry iron belly. With flame and breath, the fire blooms, warming the faithful old house and the woman who gave me life. You know, no matter how old you are, when spring comes around, it makes you feel rejuvenated. It's like a promise of new beginnings. Renewal. Waves of robins swoop down to plunder the toyon bush, feasting on bright red berries. This is a time for noticing. The old black almond tree has opened bright new eyes of delicate white blossoms, flashing and blinking in the fresh air. Sap stirs in the crusty limbs as the river of life thaws. With every step I take, my feet massage the dirt, tingle with growth, sprout fine thread roots deep underground where the fleshy worms thrive. As I lift my face to the sun, I start to bloom. I absolutely think no matter what the season, the hour before the sun sets is so calm, is so wonderful, so special. Hour of dancing wings. Driving at dusk on a country road in the Sacramento Valley, windows down, breathing cool, sweet earth, the moist scent of plant and soil. Without the blinding heat of day, my vision is renewed. Rows of sunflowers, tall and leafy, every yellow head bowing to the setting sun. The broad, smooth river meanders through the land of rice, tomatoes, corn. Long rows of almond trees flash by and shrink into the distance. This is the hour of dancing wings, delicate mayflies, white moss, darting bats, and black crows heading home. The sky unearths me with swaths of blazing colors, rose, peach, apricot, and a golden glow over the dark mountains where the fiery dragon has just slipped out of sight. In our area, in the heat of the Sacramento Valley, even in winter, of course, we don't get the drama of snow or, mountain peaks, but winter has its own charm. It has its own special charm. Winter warmth. Winter is here anew, damp, misty, and leafless. Soft moisture saturates air. Pearls dangle on tips of slender pine needles as two squirrels chased about, tails twitching, toes holding. Geese honk loudly across the still pond as trees stand cold, bare arms flung wide. The last leaves flapping like faded flags, tentative, tired, ready for release. Side by side, mallards glide between dry reeds, while well-dressed northern flickers swoop low, rise quickly, and vanish together. It feels good to have a mate, sharing food and shelter, building a nest, waking up together. One more precious day. We fluff our feathers, lower our bodies into our familiar nest, and share our warmth as the day softens in shadow. July in the Central Valley of California can be throbbingly hot. So hot that if you're wise and lucky, you escape. This poem is called Woods Lake in July. Oppressive Central Valley heat dampens skin all morning. Time to escape. Unleash dusty kayaks hanging in hot garage. Move to higher ground. We find the coolness of mountains, the peacefulness of water, our kayaks slipping across Woods Lake, clear, cold, and rippled, surrounded by red fir and white pine, thickly scented green. Snow-capped mountains pierce the clear blue sky. Upon cracked and creviced backs of Hopi granite, delicate plants nestle and bloom. On thin reed tips, mystical dragonflies balance, lift, hover, and zip above the water's breath. The sway of treetops amid the silent stone, the warm sun bouncing brilliant points of light upon the water. All this grandeur speaks like a raven's call, urgent and exciting, wild and wonderful, rock to river, mountain to tree, you to me. We glide through diamonds as we paddle back to shore. Mother Nature has her own seasons that she goes through. And of course, we humans, being part of Mother Nature, go through our own seasons. Sweet grief. The last days of fall are full of hazy honey light and crisp, cool breath. The trees release their restless leaves to fly, to die, to decompose, ultimately a chance to live again. I too feel this sweet grief of autumn, when the sun is quiet, nights are chilly dark, and the bold full moon glows icy cold. I feel it in my bones and see it in the mirror. My body weathered, veined, wrinkled. My story from the first bloom of spring to the last sigh of autumn, revolving towards the inevitable final season. I'm not sure how the time goes, so okay. I actually I've learned to swim in rivers, and when I was young, my family would always pack a big picnic and take the whole gang to the river for the day. And actually, we did that with our kids too. And I just love that feeling of swimming in a river. Rivers. I love swimming in rivers whose waters are born from mountains, whose arms curl around rocks, whose lips make soft bubbling sounds. The river calls and invites me in, especially when hot and sweaty and hiking on a dusty trail. Oh, the gift of cold, clear water. It flows through canyons and around dark, majestic boulders, the giggling and gushing of rippling water. I greet the fresh water, flapping and wiggling, swimming over speckled stones, shimmering with light, yet colorfully calm. Like an irrepressible salmon, I push against the current, glimpsing hidden fish in dark corners. I kick and pull my way upriver till I can flap no more. Then, exhausted and dripping, I spread my cold body upon dark, warm rock and bask in the glittering sun as iridescent dragonflies hover over the ageless song of water. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. I have to say your enthusiasm for poetry, for finding this art form is so wonderful to hear, and how you're using it to learn more about yourself, because we all do that when we write. We learn more about ourselves, we learn about our world. So it's just really beautiful to hear about that with you. And I have to say, I love this book. I think it's a wonderful prescription on how to age gracefully, how to stay connected to the beauty of the world, and how to continue, as you say, to bloom. So thank you so much for sharing with us today. You certainly did bloom for all of us.
Thank you, Shawn.
Our final featured poet is Cathy Cain, author of Love's Press, which is full of lighthearted love poems that celebrate the joys and romance of a long marriage. Cathy is both an artist and poet. Her previous books include Lamplight, The Weight of Clouds, The Shape of Sky, and Beat Dance, all published by the Poetry Box, as well as a chapbook, Empty Space Places You, from Finishing Line Press. Cain's honors include the Edwin Markham Prize for Poetry, the Paul Ann Peterson Award for Poetry for Willamette Writers, a Pushcart nomination, a Penn Volker nomination, and a first place and other citations from the Oregon Poetry Association. Her poetry has appeared in Read Magazine, The Poeming Pigeon, Verse Weavers, Voice Catcher, and in an anthology of pandemic poems. It's my honor to welcome my good friend, Cathy Cain.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Okay. Just a minute here. First of all, thank you, Shawn and Robert. Publishing with you has just been a delight. And I also want to thank Sandra and Rebecca and Marjorie. It was the first time, not the first time for Rebecca, but that I heard you read, and I enjoyed it very much. And I'd also like to thank all of you, the audience, for being here and allowing me to share some of my inner life with you. It's always a push-pull, a desire for privacy versus the urge to share. First, I'd like to read just 2 poems from my previous book, published by the Poetry Box, Lamplight, last October. Pronouncements at the Supreme Court. On the broad white steps of the court's portico, among imposing Corinthian columns, we wait in clusters to hear the judge's lofty words. They deliberate rulings regarding our rights, decide how much freedom we each deserve. Yet one day these stately columns may topple, like the present ruins of antiquity. Each stone section become a core sample of momentary reasonings, sliced from the context of history. And today's pronouncements become partially obscured, like rocks at the bottom of a stream, where time, like water, flows over form, rounds out thought, rolls meanings, and once powerful laws glint only briefly, their colors shifting. Arches. Like honey in the early evening sun, the wood studs and struts of the newly framed house across the street glow, throw back their light. Their angled shapes remind me of the cockeyed cathedral arches that have lined the north section of the freeway all this spring. There, among building-sized excavators, yellow bulldozers, and backhoes, monumental cranes overlap their diagonal booms of crossed and filigreed steel, forming arches silhouetted and stark. The way at dawn, they invite in the sky and call forth hymns from hummingbird cars that zip by with our prayers. And now I'd like to read from my most recent book titled Love's Press. This is a chapbook, both playful and thoughtful, poems written through the years for and to my husband, dear Dan. Pillow fight. Don't try to sum up this little pillow of pleasure we were allowed to take with us from paradise. How often are the words, let's be lovers, actually said? The body does its unspoken work instead. Yes, along with its exactitude of need, Love's Press also presents polymorphous endorphins. As we face each other, where does the distance between us go? A perfect mashup shakes out some serious serotonin, and that oxytocin. When I am with you, something other than the will pulls me near, lollipops all over me, easy licks, loose hours, feathery laughter, downy delights, and cushiony kisses. Anima. She tongues rich chocolate, searches out the almond, forgets the rest. Silent, she presses beauty by day, a wisp of cloud, a child's face. She taunts terror through the night, the torqued and turning shadows. listens for what she does not know. She is the rhino behind these contrived words, the raw life that lies along your backbone. The cello's growl, the moan of twilight's blue. She is the one who paints the dark, the bright surprise that is you. This one's called The Unpaid Poet. And in this poem, I'm playing with the word holy. Here I have spelled it W-H-O-L-L-Y. The Unpaid Poet. What if I were left-handed? Well, I am a woman. Shaken by sensation, I steady myself within the structure of syntax, a frame for formed language. However, I can be pretty silly. And let's admit, gibberish and jabberwocky are such satisfying sounds. Listen, I am a woman, and you are a man. Stick around. We could unsteady sense and logic, smooch away those named frames, fool around, shake some ground, confound with poetry, come wholly unbound. This is called The Heart of the Matter. Perhaps you love, as much as I do, the small shapes of empty space between the edges of stacked plates. How those shapes breathe like the silence in a poem. How those inconsequential intervals of nothingness quietly relax, merge, and open out wide in the cupboard, the kitchen, the universe, to scads of plenty of sweep. Perhaps you too pause, wonder at the expanse beyond our reach, the ease with which we breathe. This braided night, the purple coyote against the full moon, the autumn bird nest, empty but for one scarlet leaf. Even the kittywampus shirt with limp sleeves tossed across the chair are full of life imagined. They beckon me from my bound state. This braided night, I searched for quantum numbers forbidden to the ordinary, for the doorknob, at first not there, that opens to an elaborate, undulating Baroque unknown. A quirky quark, I accelerate hotter through your magnetic field until your lips bend my light, precipitate out all hypotheticals, until nothing is left but the exotic no thing of me that existed loose and wild in darkness before the first pink bud of my flesh. Snowdrops in winter. Oh, the news has been lousy lately, horrifying, in fact. Humans at their worst, destroying each other and our earth, brutally bashing life like bad weather, leaving our homes barren, bereft. Somehow, through this darkness, even as we ache, you and I have been blessed. And early as the winter sun allows, milk flowers or snowdrops with their tiny white bells and honey smell will rise in the cold air, ringing. While through the background of my thought, you mend the garden tools, putter contentedly, humming our little tune of hope. I'll read 2 more poems. This is called For My Husband, a Consideration of Beauty. Not the blue forget-me-nots almost gone to seed, nor the dappled greens shifting in the tall laurel wall behind. Not the filigreed turquoise garden chair that sits among the sea of cooler blues, but the mysterious blaze of clouded light that quietly appears, striking the sun-glazed glass door between my eye and the bright garden glare. You bring what you are to what this page declares, blue forget-me-nots and turquoise chair. Your mind bestows each color there with more. You are shy light made more visible by my mortal dust. Shore me with your startling love. And last, a poem after Aretha Franklin's version of Ain't Nothing Like the Real Thing for my husband. The way you lay with your head on my ribs and listened matched your breath to mine. The way the oil from your hands ate through the varnish on the desktop, ate into the softwood itself. Intimacy, humming with innocence. The song of a blind man, all of us blind, touching the darkness, hand over hand to find our way. More layered, more nuanced with each passing hour. The way becoming less about theory and more about love. Our bodies just touching, scooting alongside as one, alive with the taste of air, alive with the scraping of plates, the closing of cupboard doors, the tender double check, the scritch of pencil on paper, the turned pink rim of ear, the smell of coffee, the knock of the mug set down, the lift of the book, the turning of the next page. Thank you.
Oh, Cathy. Let's see. Jabberwocky is such a satisfying sound, and so are your poems, Cathy. I have enjoyed all of your books, but I have to say, Love's Press, where you share a bit more of yourself and your marriage, is absolutely one of my favorites. I love your playfulness. I love your willingness to share such unabashed joy. And this very special love song to your husband. And dare I say, this is one sexy book of poems, girl. Thank you so much for sharing these absolutely beautiful poems with us today. What a treat. So let's have a giant round of applause for all of our readers today. Oh my goodness, I'd like to thank our 4 talented poets, Marjorie Moorhead, Rebecca Lynn Bluemel, Sandra Rendig, and Cathy Cain. And thank you, our audience, for supporting our authors and joining us for another edition of the Poetry Box Live. We're taking a break for the summer, but we'll be back for a new show on Saturday, September 13th. So if you want to keep up to date on all our shows, as well as those submission opportunities, feel free to subscribe to our newsletter. There's a sign-up form at the bottom of each of our web pages at thepoetrybox.com. Thanks again for joining us today. Have a fantastic rest of your weekend. And to all the mothers out there, have a very, very happy Mother's Day.